All right, today is lesson 13A, word problems involving multi-step equations, day number 2. It's day number 2 because yesterday, or a previous day that we had at school, we dealt with word problems involving multi-step equations, day number 1. And so our daily learning target for today is that you will be able to solve word problems involving multi-step equations. As usual, fill in the words that are missing. Language target for today, if we shoulder partner, you'll be able to write equations from word problems. And just like yesterday, one of the reasons why you're learning this is that this is important for all of the problems over the next few lessons. So let's get started. A little bit of background knowledge from yesterday. This would have been a problem that we talked about yesterday where we were trying to find the sum of two numbers being 180, and one of the numbers was 15 bigger or larger than the other. What were the two numbers? So we kind of started this by setting up a small table, and the first question that we needed to ask ourselves was how many things that we're trying to find. Well, clearly we're trying to find two numbers. And we set it up like, then we think about, well, what is it that we're going to do to find the answer? Since we're finding the sum, we are adding those two numbers together, and that's supposed to have a total of 180. Now, we like to think of utilizing the smaller thing first, whatever that happens to be, the smaller age, or in this case, the smaller number. And we always make that, as long as we set these up this way, the smaller item would be x. Well, in the second sentence, since it said that one number is 18 bigger than the other, that makes the second number 18 bigger than the first one, which is x, so that would make the second one x plus 18. From there, we add those two expressions together because that's what we have to do for this problem to find the answer. The sum of two numbers is 180. And then from there, we set up our equation. They're supposed to add together to make 180, and then combine like terms, solve the two-step equation, which we've done over and over and over again. And in this particular case, we get x equals 81. But x equals 81 is not the answer to this problem, remember. That is the first number. The second number is 18 larger than that one. So that would make the two numbers 81 and 99. So that's kind of what we did yesterday. Today we're just kind of extending off of that kind of thing. So here is the official number 1. The width of a rectangle is 9 more than the length. If the perimeter is 50, find the width and the length. So what you have to think about here is how do you find the perimeter of any rectangle? A common mistake in this one would be to think of it this way. So don't write this down yet. We know that the width is 9 more than the length. So we want to start with the smaller item first. If the width is 9 more than the length, that means the length has to be smaller. But the wrong way of thinking about this kind of problem is using a one length and one width. We have to think about all rectangles. They have two widths and two lengths. Because when you're finding the perimeter of a rectangle, you're adding up all four of those sides. So you're adding up two lengths and you're adding up two widths. So that means in perimeter problems of rectangles, the setup is just slightly different. So how many things are we trying to find? Well, yes, a length and a width, but there's actually technically two lengths and two widths that you're trying to find. And once again, I listed the lengths first because the length is smaller. What are we going to do to find the answer? Well, we're going to add up all of those lengths and widths together, and the total is supposed to be 50. So as usual, the smaller item will be x, so each of those lengths is x. The width is 9 more than that, so that means that each of the widths is x plus 9. And if you didn't know that, you should be making sure that you're taking perfect notes here. And then those are supposed to add together to make 50 because the perimeter is supposed to be 50. From here, it's just like the problems we did yesterday. Combine like terms, Well, we've got 4 x's we're combining together, and then we've got 2 of those 9s. That's 18. From there, solve that simple 2-step equation by subtracting 18 and then dividing by 4. And that gives us x equals 8. Well, what that means is that each of the lengths is 8. To find the widths, we, of course, have to add 9 on to those. So that means the length is 8 and the width is 17. And you could do a quick check here. 8, 8, 17, 17. Add all 4 of those sides up because that's how we find the perimeter, and it will be 50 like it is supposed to be. Okay? All right. You try number 2. If you're watching the video at home, pause the video, press play when you want to compare your answer. All right, let's check what you have here. The length of a rectangle is 7 more than the width. If the perimeter is 70, find the width and the length. So this one is very similar to number 1. We know that the length is more than the width. That makes the width smaller. So make sure when you're setting up your table, you write the widths first, because then we can just make them x. And the perimeter is 70. So that would make it something like this. A W and a W, an L and an L. And we're adding up all of those sides. That's how we find the perimeter of a rectangle. And so we should have x plus x plus x plus 7 plus x plus 7 equals 70. And the reason why the lengths are x plus 7 is because the length is 7 more than the width. And just like the last one and all the problems we did yesterday, combine like terms. We have 4 x's and 2 7's we're combining together. Subtract 14 from both sides. Divide by 4. And we get x equals 14. And x is the width. And the length is 7 more than that. So the width is 14 and the length is 21. And just like I showed you in number 1, you could draw a rectangle, label the sides, and then add them up to make sure that that worked if you wanted to. All right, let's go to number 3. Number 3 says the width of a rectangle is twice the length. If the perimeter is 96, find the width and length. Please try this one on your own. Press pause if you're watching this at home, and then play when you think you have the correct answer. All right, number 3 is similar to 1 and 2. Slightly different, though. The width of a rectangle is twice the length. That means the length will definitely be smaller. The perimeter is going to be 96. So far, just like the previous ones, here's where it's going to be slightly different. We have to think about what twice something means. And if you have forgotten, twice something means 2 times that something. So if the length is x, that would make the width 2 times x, or 2x. And so our equation should look something like this. X plus 2x plus 2x equals 96. And from there we combine like terms. And just a quick reminder that I reminded you about last time is that when you're doing these in MyOpenMath, remember you do have to put in your equation first. So MyOpenMath is smart enough to know that that is equivalent to this. So it'll take either one of those. It's up to you which version you want to use. I probably would go with this version, though, because it's easier to see if you missed it where you made your mistake. So just keep that in mind. All right, so from here, we just have a one-step equation. We divide both sides by 6. X is 16. You can see from your table that the length represents x. So the length is 16, and the width is twice that, or 2 times that, so the width would be 32. Okay, let's go on. Before we can go on to the next type of problem, we have to think back to something that you would have done in the 6th grade, where you're converting a sentence to an expression or an equation in this case. So we have some words in math that in English mean to flip the order. So for example, 15 more than twice the number is negative 23, is 2x plus 15 equals negative 23. And the reason is because more than means to add, but in English it means to reverse the order. So that's why the twice a number, or the 2x comes first, and the 15 comes after that to make the 2x plus 15 equals negative 23. Whereas the sum of 15 and 2 times a number is negative 23. There's no flipping going on there in English. It's just 15 plus 2x equals negative 23. The next one, 4 times a number less than 7, less than, kind of like more than. In English, that means you're really reversing the order there. So this should come here and this should go there. And then also less than means to subtract. So that should be 7 minus 4x equals 43. And difference just means to subtract without any flipping. So the last one means 5x plus or minus 4, because the difference means to subtract, equals 16. So that's something, you did things like that in the 6th grade. And so the 5 common phrases that represent flipping in English, more than and added to, those both mean to add and reverse the order or flip the order. Less than, fewer than, subtracted from, those also all mean to subtract but reverse the order. So you have to remember those things from early on. So let's go to number 4. The sum of Allie and Mel's age is 39. So we know if we, however old Allie is and however old Mel is, if we add their ages together, that will be 39. If Mel is 3 years younger than twice Allie's age, how old are Allie and Mel? Now, in a problem like this, sometimes it's hard to tell who's younger, who's older. But in this case, since it's harder to tell, you have to go with it like this. Mel is being compared to Allie, because it says in the second sentence, if Mel is 3 years younger than twice Allie, Mel is being compared to Allie. So that would mean we probably should go with Allie being X and Mel being the other one. So we're going to basically, we know we have to add these things together to find 39. And so Allie will be X, once again, because Mel is being compared to Allie. Now, Mel is 3 years younger than twice. That's kind of like 3 years less than twice, or 3 years fewer than twice. So that would mean Mel should be 2x minus 3. And this is why we're doing this one together. All right, we know we have to add their ages together. Make sure you're taking perfect notes on this problem. And when we add them together, they're supposed to be 39. So from here, it's just like all the other problems. Combine like terms, so x and 2x is 3x. So now we have 3x minus 3 equals 39. Add 3 to both sides. Divide by 3, and we get x equals 14. Well, x represents Allie's age. To find Mel's age, you would have to replace x with 14, multiply by 2, and then subtract 3. And so that would make, and I didn't mean to go that quickly. Let me back up here. All right. So to find Mel's age, once again, you're going to substitute or replace x with what it is, which is 14. So we have 2 times 14 minus 3, and that would be 25. So that means Allie is 14, Mel is 25. We can see that when we add those two together, we do get 39 years of age. Okay? Make sure you've written down everything for this particular problem. All right, moving on. Go ahead and pause the video if you're at home watching this. Try it out. Press play when you think that you might have it. All right, let's take a look at number 5. Now, no matter what we're doing here, we always have to think about what it is that we're trying to find and what that means. Yes, in number 5, we're finding perimeter like we did in number 1 and number 2. But what's different about this one is that in 1 and 2, we were finding the perimeter of a rectangle, not a triangle. So you have to think about, how do we find the perimeter of a triangle? Well, a triangle has 3 sides. To find the perimeter of any shape, we are adding up all of the sides. But what's different is that we're only adding the 3 sides because a triangle has 3 sides. Okay? So we're finding the perimeter of a triangle, which is supposed to be 64. The second side is twice as long as the first. The third side is 4 centimeters more than the second side. So we've got that flipping that is going on because the words more than mean to add and to flip. So when we set up our table, how many things are we trying to find? Well, 3. Side number 1, side number 2, side number 3. If you didn't do something like this and you were confused, you might want to jot this down. Or in fact, you should write this down. So we're going to assume side number 1 is the smallest side. So we will make that X. And once again, we're adding to find the answer since we're finding the perimeter. Now for side number 2, we go to the second sentence. The second side is twice as long as the first side. Twice something means 2 times that something. Therefore, the side number 2 would be 2x. The third sentence says the third side is 4 more than the second. Well, the second is 2x. So that makes the third side 4 more than means something plus 4. But this is the second side, so that would make the third side 2x plus 4. We add those up, and that's supposed to be 64. From there, combine like terms. And remember, when you're inputting this in MyOpenMath, you can either go with this or this, your choice. From there, we have a simple 2-step equation. Subtract 4 from both sides. 5x equals 60. Then we divide by 5. We get x equals 12. Of course, that means side number 1 is 12. To find side number 2, you're going to replace x with 12. To find side number 3, you're going to replace that expression with x equals 12 and then simplify. So that makes the second side 24 and the third side 28. You could check them really quickly several ways by making sure that it works within each expression here. You could also add all 3 of them up and make sure that makes 64. And of course, that does work. All right, let's go to number 6. Please pause the video if you're at home watching, then press play when you are ready to go. All right, let's take a look at number 6. We are finding this time the perimeter of a rectangle again. So remember, in a rectangle, there are 2 widths and 2 lengths. If the length is 3 more than twice the width, clearly that makes the length longer than the width. So we would write down the 2 widths first and the 2 lengths second. We know that the width is going to be smaller, so we'll make those x. We're adding the sides up to check our answer. And the length, it says, is 3 more than twice. More than means to add, but reverse the order. So it's 3 more than twice what the width is, and both of them are that. Okay? We add all those expressions up to make 78. Then we start solving by combining like terms. We have 6x plus 6 equals 78. Subtract 6 from both sides. Then divide by 6. And x is 12. That's the width. To find the length, of course, you'll substitute 12 there to figure out what that length is. So the width is 12 and the length is 27, and we've already talked about it several times and how you can check to see whether that is right or wrong. All right, I'm pretty sure this is the last problem for today. If you're at home watching, pause the video, try it, then press play when you are ready to go. All right, so number 7, the length of one of the sides of a triangle is twice the length of the shortest side. The other side is 3 less than 4 times the length of the smallest side. If the sum of the 3 sides is 60, find the length of the 3 sides. So clearly we're going to have to add up 3 sides of a triangle. Remember, a triangle has 3 sides. We're going to make the smallest side x. It says one of the sides is twice the length of the shortest side, so we'll make that side 2. The other side is 3 less than 4 times. Remember, less than is another one of those. Reverse the order and subtract. And 4 times the length of the smallest side. That's the smallest side. So that would make that third side 4x minus 3. We add them up to make a total of 60. And then we solve like we've solved all of them. Combine like terms. Add 3 to both sides. Divide by 7. X is 9. And so that makes that the smallest side. And of course, to find side 2, you'll simply replace x with 9 and then replace x with 9 on that one as well. So that makes the 3 sides 9 centimeters, 18 centimeters, and 33 centimeters. We've kind of talked a few times about how you could check that answer. All right. We end every day with you thinking about what you learned today. Clearly today was about solving more word problems. All right, that is it for today.